So I'm out here on the side of the road, on a very busy road, actually. Much busier than I thought it would be. Hoping to catch just a little bit of some of the sunset color. Now the sun is actually setting that way, but my hope is that as it sets, there are some high-level clouds that it will cast some light on this area over here, just kind of where I'm facing. And what makes this a little bit different than just a regular sunset shot is that I'm actually trying to use some classic kind of vintage Canon lenses. So right now I have on here a 135 f2.8. And I've got it set right now at f2.8, but I'm going to stop it down here in a minute. And I've got this really inexpensive FD to RF mount adapter. I did a previous video on the EF version of this adapter. There's lots of them out there. They're very inexpensive. But because of the fact that those FD lenses are analog, there's not really a lot of reason to need a lot of, smarts or electronics in the adapter. It's really just, it's a physical adapter to mount between the RF and the FD, because these are completely manual lenses. So because I'm not worried about autofocus and there's not really a lot of data being transferred back and forth between the lens and the camera, and this lens doesn't have like IS or anything like that, it's just a really basic lens. It doesn't need anything to be directly connected to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop this down from 2.8. This is a 2.8 135 lens. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera on and take the lens cap off. That always helps, right? Like I said, I'm shooting at f8, and I'm trying to keep my ISO at about 100, which with a shutter speed of 1/250, that puts pretty much my whole image right in the middle of my histogram, which is normally how I try to shoot. So with a balanced histogram. We're about 15 minutes away from sunset, so I'm going to take a couple of test shots with this 135 rather, and then I might actually switch to the 28. We'll just kind of see how it goes. And now I've got those mountains framed up the way I want. It's about 35 Fahrenheit right now, and this sunset is going to be about a 50-50. The app that I use to track what the quality of the sunset will be says it's fair to good. Actually got another shot that I might frame up that goes this way. With this, there's this kind of tree stump over here. It might be kind of interesting in this. And this lens, I'll switch to the 28 mil. So this won't be the colorful sunset scene that I was hoping for, but we will at least have an opportunity to take a look at the quality that we get out of these lenses, at least this lens in particular, when shooting landscapes. So if you're shooting with a mirrorless camera, or really any camera that gives you the opportunity to use a focus assist, right? So I'm using the Canon EOS R, and it has built-in focus assist with the kind of red highlights that show me which areas are in focus. Now, this is a pretty long focal length, but at f8 and set to infinity, I should be getting some pretty good stuff. But one other thing that you can do with a lot of these lenses, depending on your camera's settings, a lot of cameras have this, is in addition to focus assisting, is you can actually zoom in to your exposure just to get a good look. And so I can actually just kind of, you know, look around to see if there are any areas that I can really kind of improve the focus if I want to. If I back it off from infinity, I really don't see a lot of advantage there. So I think I'm just going to keep things right where they are in terms of that. So I'm going to zoom out. So I hadn't really planned on this video being kind of a multi-day shot, but since we didn't really get the color that we were looking for, and we didn't really get a chance to use the 28 mil, or, because I have a 35 and I have a 50 and a 100 mil, as well as a macro adapter that I'm actually really excited to play with. But since I didn't get a chance to really use those at all, because we really didn't get a lot of the color that I was hoping for here, we'll keep going.
So now, taking a quick look here in Lightroom, I have all the photos loaded up that we took with the EOS R and that FD 135mm lens with our adapter. And here's our first shot. Really, this is the first shot that I really liked. And I've got the same shot here, just with a few adjustments. So let me kind of show you what I did. Number one, I did change the crop to a 16:9, and then just modified, brought the exposure up just a little bit, added a little bit of contrast, mixed up our highlights and shadows a tad, added some clarity and dehaze. Normally I don't push these that far, but I really felt that with the contrast, especially what we have here in the mountains, that it was something that we could pull off. And so now what I want to do is I want to look a little bit closer at the image itself, specifically kind of zooming in. I'm going to zoom into 400%. And so you can see here, we definitely have something that shouldn't really be a surprise at all, which is just a little bit of aberration from that lens. Although I will say that, and this is without adding really any sharpening, that this at 400%, this actually looks very good on that 30 megapixel sensor out of the EOS R. So I'm going to back this up just a little bit. This is 171%, and you can see, I mean, this looks really good. Now, as we get into the corners, definitely some vignetting in the corners, definitely darker on the edges, and that aberration starts to go from just a green hue or a green fringe to green and purple. But the great thing about Lightroom here, right, is we can just remove chromatic aberration. And I have not done anything and it's gone. I mean, you know, sometimes you have to get in there with the eyedropper tool and play around, but at the edges, it's there just a teeny bit. And then here in the middle, there's just a little bit here, especially when it gets a little bit brighter. Let's see if we can bring that down just a bit. That might be a little too much, actually. And then boom, it's gone. And our image looks fantastic. Now, looking here at some of the kind of outer areas, we've got a little bit more of the green vignetting, but honestly, I can barely notice it. And if we were to adjust the color on this, I don't think it really even matter. I'm going to bring up just our vignette just to kind of counteract that, right? So I've added just a little bit here. I'm up to about 50. And that really evens out the image. And then boom. I mean, I think we're looking at something that is just just really good. Now we could add just a little bit of sharpening here if we wanted to, right? I don't like to add just, you know, a ton, but we could definitely add some. And we shot it at, you know, ISO 100, so I don't think there's any other reductions that we need to do. I might also just crop. I don't like this ridge just kind of being out there like that. So I'm just going to bring this in so it's kind of on the down slope. But otherwise, I really kind of like the way that this is framed here. I like it. It's simple, it's clean, it's very stark and high contrast, which I like. You could even bring up the exposure just a little bit more. And so now I've got an image that I could play with if I wanted to get super artistic, you know, adjusting curves, getting into Photoshop, maybe playing with, you know, some of the luminosity. But otherwise, no, very happy with the lens and with the image.